Road race action continues again for XCR'11 as runners head to Ballarat to the shores of Lake Wendouree for the traditional 15k road race. Looking to the day's event program, we see juniors racing over 5 kilometres with the feature 15 kilometre race for men and women first up on our coverage. Strong numbers again took to the start line on Wendouree Parade with the men's and women's open race starting together. We'll shift our focus first to the men's field, whereas Athletics Essendon's Mitch Brown that led the field through the early stages. At the 3 kilometre mark, a leading group of about 10, including Steve Monaghetti and Box Hill's Steve Dineen and Steve Kelly, as well as reigning marathon champion Wozen amongst the early pace setters. Through 9 kilometres, it was Steve Dineen of Box Hill that started to apply the pressure at the front of the field, edging clear with Steve Kelly. And from a chase group that included Steve Monaghetti, national marathon champion Rowan Walker representing Geelong Region, as well as Daniel Clark and Mitch Brown. Across the final lap of the Lake Wendouree circuit was Steve Kelly that proved to have the best closing speed, moving clear late to take the race win, ahead of his Box Hill club mate Steve Dineen. With Mitch Brown coming through for his first podium of the XCR'11 season, as Wozen and Rowan Walker rounded out the top 5.
Pretty tough conditions. The wind seemed to be head on for 3/4 of the lap and made it uncomfortably slow. No one really wanted to do the hard work. Finally, the lead must have been a dozen guys. We find 3 or 4 guys that really wanted to put it down and get some hard work done. So it was Mitch Brown actually really helped out. He stepped up, and Steve Dineen, and we got it done.
And Steve really made the move around about 9k to start driving it. Mitch had been on the front early. Between the three of you, just started to rotate through that last little bit, and you got the kick at the end. Was that the case?
Yeah, we came round just through here, through the tents, and it must have been the cheers or something, because Steve Dineen, he really put it down. I went with him, but he put a hurdle on me by 13k. He must open up 15, 20 metres, and that became kind of gut check time for me. But I got back on, and he didn't drop back. He stayed right with me. Kind of came down to, I don't know, felt like the last 600. I only finally got rid of him.
Focusing our attention on the women's field, it was Sophie Barker from Melbourne University that made the best of the early running, stretching out a slight advantage through the opening 3 kilometres. Leading the fight for the minor placing through the early stages, Brooke Connor of Box Hill, alongside her Julia Edwards of Glen Hutley and Susie Mickelson of Collingwood Harriers. At the 9 kilometre mark was Sophie Barker that had continued to extend her lead at the front of the field, putting her into a dominant position with 6 kilometres remaining. In the fight for the minor placings, it was Brooke Connor that held the slight advantage over Susie Mickelson. Running the final lap solo, no one had come close to Sophie Barker as she moved down to the line to take her maiden XCR win, with Susie Mickelson finishing strolling into second place, outsprinting Brooke Connor, who would have to be content with bronze on this occasion. As far as the plan for today, did you come in confident that you were going to be out amongst the front runners, particularly after that 10k performance at Flemington?
I did. I did know that if Anna was here today, I wouldn't be seeing her on this run, but I did know that I'd be well in contention in the top 5, depending on who turned up. I think there's a really good bunch of girls at the moment running sort of in that top 5 group, so I knew I'd be up there. I had confidence about that.
And did you find it surprising that you're out by yourself quite early on? Of course, you had the men around you, but Brooke and the chasers were a little bit behind, even through the first couple of Ks?
Look, I did. I had a decision in my head today that I'd be going out much more conservatively over the first 5k than I did at the 10k. I thought I was, but in fact I actually was running about the same pace, so I think that's why I ended up on my own. But I was watching my back the whole first 5k. I'm used to Brooke coming up behind me on my shoulder, so I was surprised that didn't actually happen today. Yeah, I ran on my own with the boys today, which was fun.
Earlier on the race program, juniors took to the roads of Lake Wendouree for their 5k event, with strong numbers again on the start line. Stretching clear of the field, Knox's Jordan Nelson would come down to take line honours, also taking out the under-20 race win. Second across the line was Lockie Connell, who in doing so took out the under-18 race win, closely followed by Sam Quirk of South Coast Athletics for second place in the under-20 age group. Taking line honours in the women's race, it was Courtney Scott that led home a Western Athletics trifecta in front of Rochelle Kennedy and Amy Cashin, who took out the minor places in the under-18 age groups. In other age group victories in the junior 5K race, Zachary Rouse continued his winning ways for Mornington Peninsula, taking out the under-16 title. Ben White from Collingwood took out the under-14 men's race. Looking across the women's divisions, Grace Brown from Box Hill took out the under-20 women's division. Lee Rue continued her winning form, taking out the under-16 title for Coburg. And in the under-14 girls division, Laura Power from Brighton continued to power her way through the season, taking the race win. From the shores of Lake Wendouree to the hills of Brimbank Park, XCR'11 continues next for Heritage Round. Until then, this is Tom Nixon from Ballarat for AFTVIC TV.